Tonight, recession outlook. Canada's stalling economy entering technical recession territory. What that means for the cost of living. Plus, holding out hope.
We are concerned. There's probably about 20 that will have a hard time finding a place.
The appeal for provincial funding to save London's House of Hope. And pitch perfect.
For the performance of the sport, the ball play, the safety of the players, has to be on natural grass.
The Southwestern Ontario Farm providing the World Cup playing field in Toronto.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a potentially problematic sign for Canada's economy. The country has slipped into a technical recession, according to the latest data from Stats Canada. The numbers show economic growth stalling in the first quarter, with real gross domestic product falling slightly into negative territory. Stats Can officials say higher gold imports and a weak month for Canada's resource extraction were key factors in dragging down recent economic activity. Real GDP has now declined for 2 straight quarters, which meets the technical definition of a recession. With more on the reaction here in London, here's Sean Irvin.
Friday morning dawns with some relief at the gas pumps.
Definitely down quite a bit from where it's been.
But the drop in price coincides with concerning news. Canada is now in a technical recession. While financial experts debate exactly what that means for the economy, the public is simply alarmed by the word.
I did not hear that yet. I'm surprised. I thought we were doing better than the U.S. anyways. I would expect them to be in a recession.
But as most of us know, it is not just the price of gas that is stressing out consumers. It's the cost of other essentials, including mortgage, rent, car repair bills, and yes, groceries. Out shopping with her young son Fergus and her mother Kathy, Rachel Vass agreed the economy is teetering on the edge.
A little uncertain for sure, but I mean, we can only do what we can do, and everything is increasing as the world changes.
Her retired mother feels fortunate that she can help if finances become a challenge for the next generation. Some of her friends are already doing what they can to help their adult children cover the cost of housing.
The young people can't afford them these days. I mean, are they making enough money to actually afford a mortgage? And the cost of housing, I can't believe it. We were just so lucky when we bought when we did.
Mike Beard is grateful that disability insurance is keeping him housed, even though the extra remains a struggle. Still, he worries about the stresses of others.
I feel sorry for people, for attitude, money, the prices, spending a lot more what they used to.
Back at the gas pumps, Sean Smith is fueling up before resuming his search for a new job. He is taking the word recession in stride.
Well, not that worried about it just yet. I've seen many recessions.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
City staff are raising concerns over a $40 million shortfall in development charges last year. They attribute that to fewer new housing starts and provincial exemptions impacting the bottom line at City Hall. With more, here's Daryl Newcomb.
We had more exemptions in 2025 than we had revenue of development charges that came in the door.
The city treasurer is blunt about a growing deficit between the amount of money collected from development charges and the cost of infrastructure projects needed to support the city's growth. Development charges are fees paid to the municipality on new construction intended to cover the costs of growth, like new roads, sewers, fire halls, and library branches.
There is a revenue shortfall for 2 reasons. One is provincial exemptions, and the second is there's been a lot less development activity.
In 2025, the city collected about $40 million less than it needed to cover the infrastructure costs it incurred.
They put in the sewer, water, roads just in time for a building permit to be developed. So there is risk, but it's manageable.
Mike Wallace of the London Development Institute is less worried, pointing to a growth management implementation strategy that allows City Hall to slow down or speed up projects based on urgency and available funding.
So we're at the table talking to staff about what projects we think are going to either move ahead or be delayed.
If you can't put the pipes in the ground, because you don't have the money to pay for it, you don't get the new housing.
Even as London looks to deal with its DC deficit, there's a movement across the province to reduce or even eliminate development charges as a way to spur new housing starts. London's development charges currently range from about $34,000 on a row house to just over $50,000 on a single-family home.
We are supportive of the province looking at DCs as one of the affordability tools that need to be reduced so that people can actually afford to buy their first home.
But former City Councillor Sandy Levin points to a promise made by the provincial government not that long ago to cover new province-wide exemptions to development charges.
You've got a provincial government that said a couple of years ago, don't worry, municipalities, we'll make you whole. Well, the hole has just gotten bigger.
In June, a staff report will detail the impact that the DC deficit will have on future infrastructure projects. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Good evening, I'm Rita Ismail. A beautiful start to our weekend. Nothing but sunshine in this forecast, 24 degrees right now, and that's actually our high today. The winds, though, they're a bit breezy out of the west-northwest, about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. They're expected to subside later tonight, but overall, a gorgeous evening for patio weather for tonight and heading into the weekend. Now, there is an area of low pressure sitting to the northeast, but we're not tapping into any moisture this weekend because we have a strong ridge of high pressure in play, and that means a cool down for tomorrow and a nice big warm up for Sunday. A lot of sunshine in the 7-day forecast. You won't want to miss it. I'll have the full breakdown a little later in the show, but for now, back to you, Carlyle.
Thank you, Rita. Renewed calls today for reinstating funding at London's House of Hope. Local politicians joined officials from London Cares demanding the provincial government keep the doors open. With more on their message, here's Brian Bicknell.
One-bedroom apartment. It's where Matthew Cameron hung his hat for more than a year. Now the supportive housing residents that got him off the street and helped him get sober could soon close doors.
Everybody needs some kind of support of some sort. Everybody's different. But I know for myself that if it wasn't for these guys, I may not be living right now.
The House of Hope tenant was on hand for a news conference as London New Democrat MPPs and 2 city councillors called on the PC government to reinstate its share of the funding to keep the residents open.
This is about people. This is about human rights in our community who finally have found safety, dignity, stability, and hope.
But the province has to stop hurting us.
House of Hope is operated by London Cares with a budget of about $3 million. It's funded by rent from tenants, along with $1.3 million from the city and $1.37 million from the province through London Health Sciences Centre. LHSC stopped its funding last year, but the home stayed open with 1-year bridge funding from a donor. London Cares says without the provincial share, House of Hope will close at the end of November. Right now, there are 45 people who call this place home. It can house up to 56 people at a time. The idea is to have people stay until they're able to transition into permanent housing.
But at this point, we don't have anyone rostered to switch to any programs, and we are concerned. There's probably about 20 that will have a hard time finding a place. This is the only agency that really works with the highest acuity at this point like this.
CTV News reached out to Elgin Middlesex London MPP Rob Flack, but he was tied up in meetings. At Queen's Park earlier this week, he suggested House of Hope was never meant to be permanent.
The business of hospitals is not to provide supportive housing. The pilot's over, the funding got done.
And in a statement today, Flack said the city and House of Hope should find a solution together. As for Matt Cameron, he says he'll go back to living rough.
I go back on the street, and that's what it is. Like, I mean, I'll survive like anybody else would when they have to put those choices in front of you.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
London police say they're looking for a suspect after an early morning sexual assault in West London. According to police, a woman was grabbed off a sidewalk on Sarnia Road near Castle Grove Boulevard by a stranger. They say she was dragged into a wooded area where she was assaulted. Police have released a description of the suspect, saying he is a white man, 40 to 60 years old, about 5'7", with a heavy build and facial hair. They say he was wearing a cap with a light blue shirt and dark-colored shorts. A former deputy chief of Toronto Police is taking over Sarnia's police force leadership in the absence of suspended Chief Derek Davis. The police board has appointed Mike Federico to lead the department starting June 15th. A statement from the board highlights Chief Federico's experience in successfully steering police services through leadership transitions with absolute transparency. According to the Sarnia Police Board chair, his appointment will last until the investigation into workplace harassment against Chief Davis is complete. Sections of Wellington Road will be closed throughout the coming week. City crews will be paving between Wilkins Street and Harlech Gate, part of the Wellington Gateway project. Closures are scheduled from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., taking place over 4 nights from Monday to Thursday and possibly Friday. City officials say lane restrictions, detours, and partial closures are all possible throughout this leg of construction. 4 Chatham-Kent councillors are raising concerns over a looming deadline for public input on a wastewater recycling facility, which would cost more than $100 million. It's a partnership between the municipality and Greenfield Global, converting waste into natural gas. Municipal officials have projected a $16 million investment would lead to a $120 million dividend over 30 years, with other levels of government contributing funding. However, the concerned councillors say there are still questions about the project's size and impact, with the deadline for public input set for next Thursday.
Basically, we just want to, uncrack the egg, which seems pretty tough. It's big in New York City, but it's really big in Chatham-Kent. That's big bucks, right? And it's the whole impact. What does it do to benefit the lives of the citizens?
A London student has brought home a top award at the Canada-wide Science Fair.
About 55% of the estimated 25,000 near-Earth asteroids 140 meters or larger still remain undetected.
That's grade 7 student Siddharth Patel. He took home the top prize in the discovery category for his work developing an automated detection system for fate-moving objects in telescopes and verifying whether they're legitimate asteroids. He'd previously detected 2 asteroids this past October and says he hopes his automated system will help other amateur astronomers identify and report asteroids. Authorities in Vancouver released new numbers today detailing just how much it's going to cost taxpayers to host the World Cup. The updated budget shows it's going to be even more expensive than previously thought. However, there's some optimism over the chance at even higher revenues. With more on the math, here's Andrew Johnson.
Hosting 7 World Cup games inside Vancouver's BC Place will cost more or less, depending how you look at the math. And the province says it's leading the tournament in transparency.
There's no jurisdiction that's hosting a World Cup right now that is releasing the detailed information that's being released by the province of British Columbia.
A year ago, it estimated FIFA could cost British Columbians up to $624 million. Today, the figure is $729 million, an increase of more than $100 million. But projected revenue and cost recovery estimates are also higher, projected at $478 million last year. Today, $615. The bottom line, the province says overall net hosting costs have dropped by more than $30 million and are now estimated at $114 million.
Thanks to disciplined planning, strong financial oversight, and higher projected revenues.
The biggest revenue generator so far has been a 2.5% tax on all visitors to Vancouver booking short-term accommodation that will remain in effect until 2030. Over the next 5 years, BC says it will score $1 billion more in spin-off tourism. Sports economist Moshe Lander believes the benefit is being overstated and the losses from tourists and locals avoiding the city during FIFA ignored.
I don't want to be around that chaos. I want to be able to enjoy Vancouver in all of its beauty where it's not overcrowded with soccer hooligans. So you know what? I'm going to Kelowna instead.
A final answer to the question of, is it all worth it? Likely won't come for years. It all starts in exactly 2 weeks when the home team will hit the field in Toronto for the first World Cup game ever held in Canada. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up, a visit from China's foreign minister drawing protests against Canada's deepening relationship with Beijing. Plus, a guilty plea for Kenneth Law. Murder charges withdrawn for the man accused of selling so-called suicide kits around the world.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvlondon.ca, your home for news.
Welcome back. China's foreign affairs minister is in Ottawa, beginning a 3-day visit, which includes meetings with his Canadian counterpart and the Prime Minister. It's the first visit of its kind in a decade and has sparked protests on Parliament Hill. With more on what this means for Canada's foreign policy, here's Abigail Beeman.
China's foreign minister welcomed by the Prime Minister, as well as his Canadian counterpart, Anita Anand. Wang Yi spoke of record-high engagement with Anand and a relationship between the two nations that has turned around, now growing and improving, with major economic and trade concerns, as he says, properly addressed.
We are committed to growing this relationship responsibly, with a goal of increasing exports to China by 50% by 2030, while safeguarding Canada's economic and national security, interests, and values.
There would need to be some clarity about what are those guardrails, what kind of investment from China is welcome, in what sectors, and where we would actually continue to hold the red line.
The opposition leader asked if he believed Mark Carney would raise issues of human rights abuses.
Of course not. He won't do anything to make Beijing unhappy.
A former Canadian diplomat in Beijing who has met Wang Yi more than once over the decades believes human rights will be discussed and that China is likely to raise Taiwan.
We do have to reflect our values in these discussions. And from my experience, particularly behind closed doors, it's possible, necessary in my view, to speak frankly to Chinese leaders about our own concerns. And I guarantee you they will speak frankly about theirs.
The Prime Minister heads back to China for the second time later this year for the APEC summit, while this visit by the foreign minister could set the stage for a visit to Canada by China's President Xi. China watchers say to look towards the end of this year, when the president already has plans to visit the United States. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
The Ontario man at the heart of an international murder investigation pleaded guilty to 14 charges today of aiding and abetting suicide. As a result, Crown lawyers have withdrawn first-degree murder charges. With more on the plea deal, here's John Woodward.
Yeah, today is heavy, for sure.
Heavy for Kim Prosser, the mother of Ashton Prosser Blake, who was headed to university in Toronto before he died by suicide at 19 years old.
I carry forward his legacy in my heart and my soul.
Prosser, among dozens of families coming to Newmarket Courthouse to hear the guilty plea of Kenneth Law, who arrived in an OPP transport truck as media from around the world watched. Law was a trained engineer and former chef at an upscale Toronto hotel, but he also had a side business selling a meat preservative that in high doses is deadly, a product he marketed under a pseudonym on websites aimed at suicidal people. CTV News has tracked 150 deaths around the world tied to those products, the youngest just 16 years old. Court heard his income from the sales neared $300,000 using sales and payment platforms of Shopify and PayPal. The most recent death in January.
Para prevenir más muertes.
The father of an 18-year-old who died, Yesenia Bedoya Lopez, said he hopes the judge sends a message to stop anyone considering selling the product. Thanks to his guilty pleas, Law avoids a murder conviction and won't do life in prison. It emerged that British authorities won't charge him there either.
Some of these suicide websites marketed Law's products as a painless way to die, but the facts read out in court show that that is not true. Some of the people called 911 complaining of pain and vomiting, wishing that they had not taken the substance and didn't want to die, but by the time they had consumed the product, it was too late.
I walk with him in my heart in everything that I do. My passion, my drive, my everything is walking with my son.
Prosser is not pushing for a stiff sentence, just hoping that the trauma Law's actions caused can stop. John Woodward, CTV News.
Researchers with Western's Northern Tornadoes Project have confirmed a third tornado formed during last week's intense storms. They had previously confirmed tornadoes in Melbourne and Lambeth. They say after a damage survey on Tuesday, they have now determined there was an EF0 tornado in Salford, east of London. Peak winds were an estimated 125 kilometers an hour, leaving a damage trail more than 16 kilometers long. Rita Ismail's handling the forecast for us tonight. And Rita, this week compared to last week is so completely different, right? This has been such a calm, comfortable, beautiful week by comparison.
You know what? Knock on wood, right? It is
more of this.
Absolutely beautiful. You got it. Just for you. We got more of this. The sunniest stretch so far this season, Carlyle. And of course, it all begins as we head into the weekend. This is the last weekend of May. And what a great way to start that. 24 degrees are high today, right around what's normal this time of year. The record, though, that was 32 degrees back in 1987. Our sunset tonight at 8:55, so you have a couple more hours to get out there and enjoy this beautiful weather we're having today. The best part is that it actually doesn't feel that warm because we have that nice cool breeze. The winds out of the northwest about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Our temperatures ranging anywhere between 20 degrees to about 27, cooler along the shores of Lake Huron. As you can see, there's a little bit of cloud cover with a system associated to the northeast. Now that low pressure system not going to impact us as we head into the weekend. That's because we have a strong ridge of high pressure, and this is what you want to hear if you're a fan of sunshine. This means it's forming a blocking pattern, so this won't affect us, and neither will this low pressure system sitting to the south, although our temperatures will cool down once that low pressure system moves through overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. We will be waking up to cooler conditions and some brisk winds out of the northeast, but overall a beautiful day, lots of sunshine, so it'll warm us right back up for Saturday and Sunday, although tomorrow slightly cooler than Sunday. Tonight, beautiful, 22 degrees, patio weather, northwest breeze 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now that breeze will calm as we head into the night. Overnight low at 10 degrees, waking up tomorrow again, wall-to-wall sunshine. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing this weather backdrop with us. So cool start in terms of our temperatures tomorrow because, again, the winds will be out of the northeast, 10 degrees, and then we recover nicely to 20 degrees. The weather story for tomorrow, if there is one, it's going to be beautiful, sunny, and a little bit windy. Heading into Sunday, warming up, 24 degrees. And I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun putting on these sunshine icons because we deserve it. It has been quite a long spring, and our winter wasn't the greatest either. So lots of sunshine Monday through to Wednesday. Warming up on Thursday, though, a little bit too warm for some people. The humidity will start to build as well Thursday into Friday, but not really much in the way of precipitation until maybe next weekend. Midwestern Ontario, same thing goes. So we cool off tonight, a great evening in store. Tomorrow morning, sunshine, gardening weekend indeed, 23 degrees Sunday, clear blue skies. We hold on to that. This high pressure not going anywhere, folks. And then, of course, we are going to warm up midweek, 23 degrees, 25 by Thursday, and the humidity will build as we head into next weekend. The chance for showers returns next weekend. So get outdoors, Carlyle, take it all in because we deserve it.
All right, Rita, thanks very much. Still ahead, a homegrown pitch. The Southwestern Ontario Sod Company growing the grass for the world's game.
Two Lukes to make the iHeartRadio Pure Country Countdown this weekend. Luke Combs and Luke Bryan for doing incredible things in the community.
Catch the show Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 4. We'll see you there.
CTV London has your chance to win a 4-pack of season passes to East Park, London to keep cool and have fun all summer long. Enter now at ctvlondon.ca for your chance to win.
New data suggests Canadians are taking advantage of subsidies for new electric vehicles. Since the federal government rebooted the subsidy program in February, Canadians have claimed more than $122 million. Transport Canada says more than 24,000 claims were filed in the first 2.5 months. However, car dealers say they're still waiting to get $200,000 in cash to cover those rebates, impacting their bottom lines. Final preparations are underway at Toronto's BMO Field, the site of Canada's opening match at the World Cup. That includes new grass installed, which was actually grown in southwestern Ontario. Karis Mapp reports.
The grass has been laid at BMO Field, now being called Toronto Stadium, ahead of the World Cup. The field actually got installed early in the winter almost. They had a couple games on it just to set it in, and now it's been resting for about 4 weeks. They're not letting anybody walk on it. They are meticulously making sure every grass blade is absolutely perfect.
Green Horizon Sod Farms has been BMO Field's provider for over 15 years now, but this project meant the grass had to be pitch perfect.
We are so excited to be part of this world-renowned event. The World Cup has never came across the ocean like this, so it is a very, very big deal.
The grass currently at their specialty turf farm in Burford is replacement grass in case of emergency throughout the tournament.
Anything could happen, and we definitely need a backup field to be able to fix anything that needs to get done.
We mow this probably almost every day. We fertilize a good amount and lots of irrigation. It's growing on USGA sand, so it has the proper drainage, the best possible conditions it could have.
Different from artificial turf often seen at soccer fields, this high-performance grass is all natural.
It gives, but yet it has traction. You know, artificial turf has traction, but it doesn't give. That's why the soccer players around the world demand to play on natural grass, because for their own body, for their own playability, for the performance of the sport, the ball play, the safety of the players, has to be on natural grass. There is no other choice.
While Green Horizon sod will be showcased on the main pitch at Toronto Stadium, the team here has been hard at work to provide all the natural turf athletes will be playing and practicing on during their time in the city.
The City of Toronto was required to build a practice field at Centennial Park right near the airport south of the 401. We did that one last year. FIFA is going to be staying at the Nottawasaga Inn in Alliston. The team is going to be staying at the Nottawasaga Inn and playing on a field that we just put in maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Sheedle and his team will be on site in the parking lot during the tournament, but that's about as close as they'll get to the action.
We got a link to the lottery like everyone else did, unfortunately.
Keeping things fair for FIFA 2026. Karis Mapp, CTV News, Burford.
More than 50,000 Canada Post workers have until tomorrow to vote on a new 5-year contract. The labor dispute has dragged for more than 2 years, and workers have hit picket lines several times because of the lack of progress. Union leaders have told their members to reject the latest offer. A tentative deal was reached late last year, which included wage increases, but also an eventual end to door-to-door deliveries. Canada Post has reported $5 billion in losses since 2018. Canada's main stock index was helped today by gains in technology stocks. The TSX gained 251 points. In New York, the Dow added 363. The Nasdaq rose 55. The Canadian dollar is up 0.05 of a cent. On commodity markets, gold gained more than $60 an ounce. Oil fell about $1.50 a barrel. When we come back, an icon of London architecture, we head to the Fork of the Thames for a history lesson on one of our city's most famous buildings. Welcome back. We are continuing our series celebrating London's bicentennial tonight with a look at one of our city's most recognizable buildings. The old courthouse has stood at the Fork of the Thames since London's founding. With the latest edition of London 200, here's Sean Irvin.
For most of its 200 years, this Gothic structure has presided over the law in London, from high-profile murder trials to frontier justice.
Because the first time they tried to hang him, the rope broke, so they had to try a second time.
The story of the Middlesex County Courthouse begins long before the first brick covered in stucco is placed. It sits on a site originally planned to be the center of not only the district, but all of Upper Canada. This was the wish of our founder, Lieutenant Governor and British war hero, John Graves Simcoe.
It was going to be the capital, but even though he lined it at the Forks of the Thames, the original plan was to call it New London, and it was going to be where the Coves was.
The future capital, named in homage of the other London, was selected not only for the intersecting river, but for its inland location, far away from the ever-present threat of American invasion, according to Stephen Liggett, a tour guide here for almost 40 years.
It would take a while for them to get here, and that would give them the time to react.
But despite the tactical advantages, Simcoe's plan was overruled. Concentrated settlement would not occur until the 1820s. The old courthouse was among the first buildings underway by 1826. And while the original structure was half the size, it retains many of the original characteristics still seen today.
But with all the towers and the windows and all the rest of it, it looked very much like a castle. And legend has it that it resembles Malahide Castle in Ireland. And of course, that was the ancestral home of Colonel Thomas Talbot.
Colonel Talbot, responsible for most European settlement, wanted the castle to serve as the government center of the London district. It was intended to be imposing.
It must have been very strange to see a castle being built out in the wilderness with battlements and arched window openings. It looked more like something you would have seen back in Europe than something you would expect to see here.
So much so, its Gothic towers in the woods spawned a nickname that has stuck.
To the point where it became known as the city in the forest, and that's where our Forest City name comes from, not because of how many trees we got.
It was not long before most district services outgrew the castle. By the 1840s, the court and the newly built jail were its main functions. Justice would be swift. The first public execution occurred in 1830 when Cornelius Burley met his end. Accused of killing a police officer, he became the first and second person hanged before a crowd of 3,000.
People came from 50 miles or so around to watch it. He's the person that was hanged twice because the rope broke the first time.
So they actually had to find another rope, set the whole thing up, drop him through the trapdoor the second time, and they were successful.
To say the entire scene was macabre was an understatement.
People would have been watching this because up until the 1860s, the executions were done in public. It was quite an exciting time. People could come and bring the kids and bring your lunch and, watch the wonderful event of somebody being hanged.
While public executions came to an end, the notoriety of deaths beyond the prison walls did not. Phoebe Campbell was the first woman executed in 1872 for murdering her husband. The death and the trial was immortalized in a postcard. The most infamous hanging was that of Marion Pegleg Brown, a Texas man who fled authorities after shooting a police officer.
Because they bring a lot of people in, but they're looking for a one-legged man.
Eventually, he was caught in Washington state and returned to London.
Now, the whole time he was kicking and screaming that he was innocent, he had nothing to do with this, he had the wrong man.
As he walked down the steps and into a jail cell mere hours before his execution, Pegleg Brown uttered damning words.
He cursed the building, he cursed all the people involved, and swore that grass would never grow on his grave. Since that time, he is supposed to be haunting the building.
When the partial skeleton of Pegleg was rediscovered in 1985, grass was said not to be growing on the spot. In all, 26 people would hang at the jail, the final act taking place in 1951. Walter Rowe would be sentenced to death after a mechanic was shot in a botched gas station robbery. But unlike a century earlier, the public's thoughts were changing. Suddenly, people were no longer cheering about capital punishment.
And they were there to protest capital punishment. So you go from the 3,000 people watching the first one hang to people protesting the last one being hung.
But not everyone who faced a judge here was sentenced to die. Some were exonerated, including those involved in one of the biggest cases ever convened here. The grisly murders of 5 members of the Donnelly family near Lucan created an international sensation over 2 trials.
It's the biggest, most famous case. Every media outlet within hundreds of miles would have been represented.
The cases were packed with stacked juries and judges who clearly sided with either the prosecution or the defense. No one would ever be convicted.
There was no way they were going to get a guilty verdict out of the whole thing.
But a looming verdict has hung over this building for much of its history. Threatened with demolition at multiple points, it became a National Historic Site in 1955. Closed as a courthouse in 1974, it now serves as the headquarters of the County of Middlesex. But the county will depart by the end of this year after selling the building into private hands. Its 200-year legacy now uncertain.
What are you going to do with it? Like, it's not really something that could be broken up into apartments.
I worry about its existence. What is going to be done by the owners that taken it?
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Outgoing Governor General Mary Simon was honored today with her term reflected in a new funding project for community-based mental health services in Northern and Indigenous communities.
This project will provide the communities you visited, and you visited many, and more, there are even more, with the vital mental health care that they deserve.
Prime Minister, thank you for this very generous gift, which makes it possible to launch a project close to my heart.
She says this is part of her ongoing commitment to the Arctic, where service shortages are acute. The project will receive financial support from the Rideau Hall Foundation and the federal government, contributing $5 million, along with a pledge to match up to $10 million from the foundation. A California teenager has won this year's Scripps Spelling Bee.
Madokwa.
M-A-D-O-Q-U-A.
Rishi Arias.
R-E-T-I-A-R-I-U-S.
Belintawak.
B-L-I-N-T-A-W-A-K.
Tessera Conter.
T-S-S-A-R-A-C-O-N-T-E-R.
Torika Thapsia.
T-A-U-R-O-K-T-H-A-P-S-I-A.
Rapakivi.
R-A-P-A-K-I-V-I.
That's 14-year-old winning after a dramatic spell-off in Washington last night. The champion correctly spelled 32 words compared to the runner-up's 25. There's also a $50,000 cash prize for winning.
Tonight's weather snapshot sent in from our viewer Shannon in Kitchener. She took this photo of Mother Goose walking goslings across the street. Now, fun fact, geese are frequently known to walk or babysit and adopt other baby geese or gosling, as they are highly social parents and they're known to run daycares. Thank you so much for sharing, Shannon. Sunshine and cool, brisk Saturday, but staying dry this weekend. High pressure is locked in as we officially welcome June on Monday.
A new petition is calling on the provincial government to reverse cuts made to the International Languages program in Ontario schools. The Change.org petition has more than 800 signatures. It was launched by a Toronto Catholic School Board trustee who says thousands of students could lose access to the program. It comes months after the provincially appointed supervisor overseeing that board announced weekday international language programming would be phased out in the next school year. Education ministry officials say it was a decision made to reduce the board's deficit. A Bloc Québécois MP is expected to resign his seat so he can run in Quebec's provincial election this fall. Simon-Pierre Savard-Tremblay is leaving the Bloc Québécois for the provincial Parti Québécois, adding to a growing list of possible by-elections that could impact the federal Liberals' slim majority. Savard-Tremblay has been a Montreal area MP since 2019. There could now be 5 federal by-elections scheduled before the end of the summer. The Alberta government has issued an order in council determining the wording of the referendum question on separation for this fall. Voters will be asked if Alberta should remain a province of Canada or whether the government of Alberta should commence the legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum on whether Alberta should separate from Canada. The order also makes it clear this particular referendum is not binding and mail-in ballots will not be allowed. Authorities in Romania say a Russian drone that was part of an overnight attack on Ukraine crossed the border into Romania and struck an apartment building. They say 2 people were injured near the Romanian borders with Ukraine and Moldova. Romania is a member of NATO, and leaders there are calling this a serious violation of international law.
Această situație, Consulul General al Federației Ruse la Constanța.
Meanwhile, the Romanian president is putting pressure on Russia's consul general, demanding the closure of a Russian consulate in a Romanian city. A cancer survivor is making his way across this country hitchhiking from coast to coast. As Sean Leithong reports, he was inspired by a Canadian icon who embarked on a cross-country mission of his own.
You'll see his thumb extended. Notice the bright propeller hat, and then the sign he's holding. Quinn Strang is hitchhiking across Canada to raise money for cancer research, but
I have absolutely no clue what's going to happen next.
Standing on the side of the road in Toronto, this journey has been long, not just on the road, but personally, as the 20-year-old has beaten cancer twice.
I was diagnosed when I was 15 with Ewing sarcoma, so I had a tumor in my left femur that spread throughout my body, my lungs and my lymph nodes, and I had about a 15% chance to live. I beat it, and then I relapsed again when I was 17, and I had to get a femur transplant.
His journey through cancer treatment was inspiration to take on this one, following in the footsteps of Terry Fox.
No nation or any group of any people in the world will ever be as united as Canada was when Terry Fox did his Marathon of Hope. And, you know, I could never imagine running across Canada with a prosthetic leg, but if I can stick out my thumb and that gets attention to a good cause, I'll do my own take on it.
This is day one. On May 17th, Strang stuck his feet in the Atlantic Ocean in St. John's, Newfoundland, and has spent the past 12 days meeting Canadians on his way west.
I have made it to Parliament here in Ottawa.
With a new story at every stop.
And I ended up getting blessed by a Buddhist monk in Ottawa, and I drove a Porsche through the countryside, and I had no clue that was going to happen.
Thea Alba and her partner found Quinn near Perth, Ontario, bringing him all the way to the GTA.
I don't think I would have done it on my own, but he was just this kid with like a sign, and I like when I saw what he was doing, I was like, I have to help out in some way.
And help out Canadians have. Quinn Strang's GoFundMe page has already raised over $40,000.
My goal is to raise $100,000. That is $1 for everybody from the city of Moncton.
But while it can be hard to be picked up as a hitchhiker, Quinn hopes his appearance can be disarming.
I feel like people will be more outgoing and trustworthy of some idiot kid wearing a propeller hat. Hey there, where are you guys heading?
He has each new driver autograph his sign. The goal is to make it to Victoria, BC by June 15th before flying back to his job as a lifeguard in Moncton. From now until then,
you meet these amazing people and all these amazing stories happen, and you just never know what's going to happen next.
Trusting that his thumb, his hat, and his sign will get him there. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
A Blue Origin rocket exploded during a test in Florida last night. The rocket belonged to Blue Origin Space Technology under billionaire Jeff Bezos' control. A company statement indicates the spacecraft blew up during an engine firing test ahead of a satellite launch planned for next week. Officials at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station say no injuries have been reported. That rocket model had actually been previously grounded after leaving a satellite in the wrong orbit because of an engine failure.
June 6th is the start of London Music Week. All kinds of live performances happening around the city. Also, 2 award shows. We will talk with Mario about all of that coming up this Saturday, 8 a.m. on Weekend Spotlight. Also, Fanshawe Pioneer Village is open for the season. We'll talk to them about their new exhibit and more. And London Food Bank pops into the studio. See you Saturday, 8 a.m.
Finally tonight, a fleet of pirate ships up for sale. They're part of an Eastern Ontario entertainment operation. With more, here's Peter Sperling.
Welcome aboard the Grey Ghost, matey, the finest ship to ever sail any of the 7 seas, or at least Mooney's Bay.
Owen McGowan loves his job, also known as...
My pirate name is Big Muscle Russell. It's not because of me muscles, it's actually because of me pet mussel Camilla, who be particularly large.
He's part of the crew hitting the high seas of Mooney's Bay on a pirate ship, entertaining visitors.
It's indescribably cool. It's adventure. It's truly, in its purest form, just fun.
In search of tourists' gold, it's an anchor attraction here. Fun for families and children by day, escape games for adults in evenings. And now, a chance to own it.
Pirate Life, a tourism business here in Ottawa and in Toronto and Hamilton, is for sale. This ship can be yours.
We're a local attraction with almost 20 years of history in Ottawa, 10 years of history in Toronto. So much so that we've had young people who came on the boat when they were 4, 5, or 6 years old now apply and work with us during the summertime.
Owner Matt Slayman says he's planning on moving to Europe with his wife and is looking for a buyer.
And it's such a beautiful business. I mean, this, I think, is great for someone who wants to work outdoors during the summertime. They want to be down here on the docks, living their best life from May to October.
For sale, the business. 4 40-foot pirate ships in multiple locations, along with waterfront leases, licenses, and permits.
I think it's a great tourism experience. Sounds like a fun time. And I'm sure they'll have a lot of interest.
Oh, if I was ever in the market for one, I'd surely get it there. Maybe not this time. I got my small one for now.
Slayman says programs are running all summer.
And in the event we don't find a buyer, I'll still be captain of these ships and we'll still be cruising.
With Big Muscle Russell looking forward to another season.
What we have here is really special.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. For all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a great weekend.